Suddenly hope.
Scientists have managed to create a vaccine for COVID 19. Scientists have managed to create a vaccine for COVID 19.
Scientists have managed to create a vaccine for COVID-19.
Getting enough people vaccinated will be even harder.
Getting enough people vaccinated will be harder.
9 long years elapsed
9 long years elapsed
between the isolation of the measles virus
between the isolation of the measles virus
1954
in 1954
and the licensing of a vaccine.
and the licensing of a vaccine. 9 long years elapsed. 9 long years elapsed between the isolation of the measles.
9 long years elapsed between the isolation of the measles virus in 1954
9 long years elapsed between the isolation of the measles virus in 1954 and the licensing of a vaccine.
The world waited for 20 years
The world waited for 20 years
between early trials of a polio vaccine
between early trials of a polio vaccine
and the first American license
and the first American license
in 1955.
in 1955. The world waited 20 years between the first trials of a polio vaccine and the first American license in 1955.
Marvel then at how the world scientists
Marvel then at how the world scientists
are on course
are on course
to produce a working vaccine. Marvel then at how the world scientists are on course to produce a working vaccine
to produce a working vaccine
SARS-CoV-2,
against SARS-CoV-2,
the virus that causes co-produce a working vaccine against SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19
the virus that causes COVID-19,
within a single year.
Marvel then at how the world scientists are on course to produce a vaccine, produce a working vaccine,
To produce a working vaccine against
SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19 within a single year.
The virus that causes COVID-19 within a single year. And not just any vaccine.
And not just any vaccine.
The early data from a final stage trial unveiled it, and not just any vaccine. The early data from a final stage trial
The early data from a final stage trial
unveiled this week by just any vaccine. The early data from a final stage trial
The early data from a final stage trial
unveiled this week by Pfizer,
BioNTech,
two pharma companies,
and BioNTech, two pharma companies,
suggests that vaccination cuts your chances
suffering symptoms
by more than 90%.
of suffering symptoms by more than 90%. The early data from Pfizer and by
Pfizer, the early data from a final stage trial, and not just any vaccine. The early data from a final stage trial.
The early data from a final stage trial. The early data from a final stage trial unveiled this week by Pfizer and BioNTech, two pharma companies, suggest that vaccination cuts your chances of suffering symptoms by more than 90%.
Unveiled destination cuts your chances of suffering symptoms by more than 90%. That is almost as good as for measles.
That is almost as good as for measles.
And better than the flu jab.
And better than the flu jabs. With an efficacy of just 40 to 60%.
90% suggests that vaccination cuts your chances of suffering symptoms by more than 90%. That is almost as good as.
That is almost. That is almost. that is almost as good as for measles and better than flu jabs with an efficacy of 40 to 60%.
The measles then. Suddenly, in a dark winter, there is hope.
Suddenly, in a dark winter, there is hope.
Not surprisingly, Pfizer's news on November 9th
Not surprisingly, Pfizer's news on November 9th
roused the market's bulls.
roused the market's bulls. Not surprisingly, Pfizer's news on November 9th roused the market's bulls.
Investors dumped shares in Clorox, Peloton, and markets bulls. Investors dumped shares in Clorox, Peloton,
Investors dumped shares in Clorox, Peloton,
and tech firms,
and tech firms,
which have all benefited from the coronavirus,
which have all benefited from the coronavirus,
and instead switched into firms
like
Disney, Carnival, and International Consolidated Airlines Group,
Disney, Carnival, and International Consolidated Airline Groups,
which will do well when the sun shines again.
which will do well when the sun shines again. Investors dumped shares in Clorox, Peloton, and tech firms, which have all benefited from the coronavirus, and instead switched into firms like Carnival, Disney, and International Consolidated Airline Groups, which will do well when the sun shines again.
The OECD, a club of mainly rich countries, fell when the sun shines again. The OECD, a club of mainly rich countries,
The OECD, a club of mainly rich countries,
reckons that global growth in 2021
reckons that global growth in 2021
with an early vaccine
will be 7%,
will be 7%,
2
2 percentage points higher than without.
2 percentage points higher than without.
Particularly rich countries reckons that again.
The OECD, a club of mainly rich countries, reckons that global growth in 2021 with an early vaccine will be 7%, 2 percentage points higher than without.
Mainly rich countries reckons that global growth in 2021 with an early vaccine will be 7%, 2 percentage points higher than without. There is indeed much to celebrate.
There is indeed much to celebrate.
Pfizer's results suggest that other vaccines will work too.
Pfizer's results suggest that other vaccines will work too.
Over 320 are in development.
Over 320 are in development,
several in advanced trials.
300
Pfizer's results suggest that other vaccines will work too. Over 320 are in development.
Over 320 are in development, with several in advanced trials.
Most, like Pfizer's,
Most, like Pfizer's,
focus on the spike protein in advanced trials. Most, like Pfizer's, focus on the spike protein,
focus on the spike protein,
with which SARS-CoV-2 gains entry to cells.
with which SARS-CoV-2 gains entry to cells.
If one vaccine with which most, like Pfizer's, focus on the spike protein with which SARS-CoV-2 gains entry to cells.
Most, like Pfizer's, focus on the spike protein with which SARS-CoV-2 gains entry to cells.
If one vaccine has used this strategy to stimulate immunity,
If one vaccine has used this strategy to stimulate immunity,
others probably can too.
others probably can too. If one vaccine has used this strategy to stimulate immunity, others probably can too.
Pfizer's vaccine is also the first using a promising new. Pfizer's vaccine is also the first.
Pfizer's vaccine is also the first
using a promising new technology.
Pfizer's vaccine is also the first using a new promising technology.
Many vaccines prime the immune system by introducing inert technology.
Many vaccines prime the immune system
by introducing inert fragments of viral protein.
by introducing inert fragments of viral protein.
system by introducing inert fragments of viral protein. Prime the immune first using a promising new technology. Many vaccines prime the immune system by introducing inert fragments of viral protein.
Many vaccines
Prime the immune first using a promising new technology. Many vaccines prime the immune system.
Many vaccines prime the immune system by introducing inert fragments of viral,
By introducing inert fragments of viral protein.
viral protein.
This one gets the body to make the viral protein itself
This one gets the body to make the viral protein itself
by inserting genetic instructions
by inserting genetic instructions
contained in the form of RNA.
contained in the form of RNA. This one gets the body to make the viral protein itself by introducing genetic instructions contained in the form of RNA.
Because you can edit RNA,
Because you can edit RNA,
the vaccine can be tweaked
the vaccine can be tweaked
should the spike protein mutate,
should the spike protein mutate,
as it may have recently in mink.
as it may have recently in mink.
Because you can edit RNA,
Because you can edit RNA,
the vaccine can be tweaked should the spike protein mutate, as it may have recently in mink. This platform can be used with other viruses
other viruses and other diseases,
possibly including cancer.
BioNTech's original focus.
This platform can be used with other viruses and other recently in mink. This platform can be used.
This platform can be used. This platform can be used.
Other viruses
This platform can be used with other viruses and other diseases,
and other diseases,
possibly including cancer. BioNTech's original focus.
including cancer. BioNTech's original focus. So celebrate how far biology has come,
So celebrate how far biology has come
how fruitfully it can manipulate biochemical machinery
and how fruitfully it can manipulate biochemical machinery
for the good of humanity.
for the good of humanity.
There will be time later
There will be time later
to worry about how that
how the power might also be abused,
and celebrate the potency of science as a global endeavor,
and celebrate the potency of science as a global endeavor,
drawing on contributions to the potency of science as a global endeavor,
drawing on contributions
from across the world.
from across the world.
A small German firm
A small German firm
founded by first generation Turkish immigrants
founded by first generation of Turkish immigrants
has successfully worked with an American multinational company.
has successfully worked with an American multinational company
Headed by Greek chief executive.
Yet despite the good news,
two big questions stand out
two big questions stand out
about the characteristics of the vaccines
about the characteristics of the vaccines
and how fast it can be distributed.
and how fast it can be distributed.
These are early results
Based on 94 symptomatic cases of COVID-19
from among the 44,000 volunteers.
Further answers must wait until the trial has gathered more data from volunteers. Further answers must wait
until the trial has gathered more data.
It is therefore not clear
It is therefore not clear
whether the vaccine stops severe whether the vaccine stops severe cases
or mild ones,
or mild ones,
or whether it protects the elderly
or whether it protects the elderly
whose immune systems are weaker.
whose immune systems are weaker.
Nor is it known whether inoculated people immune systems are weaker. Nor is it known
Nor is it known
whether inoculated people
whether inoculated people
can still cause potentially fatal infections.
can cause
Whether inoculated people can still cause potentially fatal infections
can still cause potentially fatal infections
in those yet to receive jabs.
in those yet to receive jabs.
And it is too soon to be sure
And it is too soon to be sure
how long the beneficial effects
how long the beneficial effects
will
will
last.
last.
Clarity will take time.
Clarity will take time.
In the next few weeks,
In the next few weeks,
the trial should be declared safe,
the trial should be declared safe.
though further monitoring of the vaccine
S-
will be weeks. The trial should be declared safe, though further monitoring of the vaccine
Though further monitoring of the vaccine
will be needed.
will be needed.
The companies predict that immunity
The companies predict that the immunity
will last for at least a year.
will last at least for a year. Will last.
The companies predict that immunity will last for at least a year.
The immunity will last for at least a year.
The 90% plus efficacy is so high. At least a year. The 90% plus efficacy is so high
The 90 plus efficacy is so high
that this vaccine may offer at least some protection
that this vaccine may offer at least some protection
to all age groups. So high that this vaccine may offer at least some protection to all age groups.
to all age groups.
While the world waits for data, it
While the world waits for data,
will have to grapple with distribute groups. While the world waits for data, it will have to grapple with distribution.
it will have to grapple with distribution.
Vaccine will be in short supply.
Vaccine
Promoter, it will have to grapple with distribution. Vaccine will be in short supply
will be in short supply
for most of next year.
for most of next year.
Although RNA jabs may prove easier to make at scale than those based
Although RNA jabs may prove easier to make
scale than those based on proteins,
at scale than those based on protein,
Pfizer requires 2 doses.
Pfizer requires 2 doses.
The company has said that it will
The company has said that
be able to produce up to 50 million doses
it will be able to produce up to 50 million doses
in 2020
in tw-
and wanted that it will be able to produce up to 50 million doses in 2020
in 2020
and 1.3 billion
and 1.3 billion
next year.
next year.
That sounds a lot, but America
That sounds a lot, but
alone has over 20 million first responders.
America alone has over
America alone has over 20
million first responders,
20 million first responders, medical staff, care home workers,
medical staff, care home workers,
and active duty
and active duty troops.
Perhaps a fifth of the world's
Perhaps a fifth of the world's
7.8 billion people,
7.8 billion people,
including 2/3 of those over 70,
risk severe COVID-19.
Nobody has ever tried to vaccinate
Nobody has ever tried to vaccinate
an entire planet at once.
As the effort mounts,
As the effort mounts,
syringes, medical glass, and staff
could run short.
Whereas Pfizer shots need to be stored at temperatures
Worse, Pfizer's shots need to be stored at temperatures of minus 70 degrees Celsius
of minus 70 degrees Celsius
colder,
or even colder,
far beyond the scope of your local chemist.
far beyond the scope of your local chemists.
The company's building an ultra cold chain.
The company is building an ultra cold chain,
but the logistics will still be hard. The company's building an ultra cold chain, but the logistics will still be hard.
the logistics will still be hard.
The vaccine comes in batches of
The vaccine comes in batches
at least 975
of at least 975
doses.
doses.
The vaccine comes in batches of at least 975 doses. So you need to assemble that many people
So you need to assemble that many people
for their first shot, and the 5 doses. So you need to assemble that many people
So you need to assemble that many people
for their first shot.
at
75 doses. So you need to assemble that many people for their first shot.
for the first shot,
And the same crowd again
and the same crowd again
21 days later
21 days later
for a booster.
for a booster.
Nobody knows how many doses will be wasted.
Nobody knows how many doses will be wasted.
So long as there is too little vaccine
So long there's
to go, how many doses will be wasted. So long as there is too little vaccine to go around,
so long as there is too little vaccine to go around,
priorities must be set by governments.
priorities must be set by governments.
A lot depends on them getting it right
A lot depends on them getting it right
within countries
within countries
and between them.
and between them.
Modeling suggests that if
Modeling suggests that
50 within countries and between them. Modeling suggests that if 50 rich countries
if 50 rich countries
were to administer 2 billion doses
were to administer 2 billion doses
of a vaccine that is 80% effective,
for a vaccine that is 80% effective,
they would prevent a third of deaths globally.
they would prevent a third of deaths
80%
globally.
effective, they would prevent a third of deaths globally. If the vaccine was supplied according to rich and poor countries' population,
If vaccines were supplied according to rich and poor countries' population,
if the vaccine was supplied according to rich and poor countries' population, that share would almost double.
their share would almost double.
The details will depend on the vaccine.
The detail will depend on the vaccine.
Poor countries may find ultra cold chains
Poor countries may find ultra cold chains
too costly.
too costly.
The domestic answer to these
The domestic answer to these
problems
problems
is national committees
is national committees
to allocate vaccine optimally.
to allocate vaccine optimally.
The global answer is COVAX,
The global answer is COVAX,
an initiative to encourage countries
an initiative to encourage countries
equal access to supplies.
equal access to supplies.
COVAX, an initiative to encourage countries equal access to supplies. Ultimately, though, the solution will be continued work on
Ultimately, the solution will be continued work
more vaccines. Ultimately, though, the solution will be continued work on more vaccines.
on more vaccines.
Some might survive in commercial refrigerators.
Some might survive in commercial refrigerators.
Others will work better on the elderly.
Others will work better in the elderly.
Others will work better on the elderly.
Others will work better on the elderly.
Still, others might confer
Still, others might confer
protection,
protection,
require a single shot, or stopping. Still, others might confer longer protection,
Still, others might confer a longer protection,
require a single shot,
require a single shot,
or stop infections as well as symptoms.
or stop infections as well as symptoms.
All those that work will help increase supply.
All those that work will help increase supply.
Only when there is enough to go around
Only when there is enough to go around
will anti-vaxxers become an obstacle.
will anti-vaxxers become an obstacle.
Only when there is enough to go around will anti-vaxxers become an obstacle. Early reports suggest that
Early reports suggest that
jab causes fevers and aches.
jab causes fevers and aches.
Early reports suggest the jab causes fevers and aches, which may also put some people off.
Which may also put some people off.
The good news is that an efficacy of 90%
The good news is that An efficacy of 90%
makes vaccination more attractive.
makes vaccination more attractive.
The next few months will be hard.
The next few months will be hard.
Global recorded death rates
Global recorded death rates
have surged past their April peak.
have surged past their April peak.
Governments will struggle with the logistics.
Governments will struggle with the logistics.
Governments will struggle with the logistics of vaccination.
With the logistics of vaccination.
America is rich and it has world-class medicine.
America is rich and it has
America is rich and it has world-class medicine.
and it has world-class medicine.
But it risks falling short
But it risks falling short
because the virus is raging.
because the virus is raging.
And because the transition between administrations
And because the transition between administrations
could lead to needless chaos and because the transition between administrations could lead to needless chaos
could lead to needless chaos
and delays.
and delays.
Squandering lives when a vaccine is at hand
Squandering lives when a vaccine is at hand
would be especially cruel.
would be especially cruel.
Science has done its bit to see off the virus.
Science has done its bit to see off the virus.
Now comes the test
Now comes the test
for society.
for society.